Didn't share the screen. Okay, gotcha. All right, so here.
She said it's very bright, she cannot see.
No, I did not share the screen, so that's the reason.
Okay.
No, actually, in the screen back there. she can
Yeah, I'm
see
good
it.
now.
Yes, she is good now. Because I did not share the screen, she was looking at the project.
So yeah.
Okay, so that's the reason. Sneha, just remind me, okay, if I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah, maybe it will start. So I was like waiting. Okay, I'm good now.
Okay. All right, so here, yeah, does it help you, Mary? So if you have a title, you can define title or title, whatever, something like that. It's not case sensitive. Okay. All right, so XML is case sensitive, so other things are basically you understand, right? What is there? Now, what is the similarity in HTML and XML? So identify differences, right?
They both follow people.
Well, that's both follows that, right?
Similar.
Yeah, execution wise. So when the software or browser interprets it, they will execute start from top to whatever the particular way, right? So that's basically tag structure was that's correct. So okay, so similarities in HTML and XML, right? So let's talk about what I'm asking here is there any difference in the structure? What is the structure looks like for both?
The root.
Root.
The root and
They both have one root.
HTML and XML structure, right? Yeah. All right. So what is the structure looks like for HTML?
HTML.
To declare the.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking about structure. So there will be tags, but it always starts with HTML, right? Here ends with HTML, right? This is considered as a root, right, for HTML. Okay. Now, what else is there? What are the two main sections?
And then title.
Head, right? And there is a body, right? So you have to format such a way. Now, no, yep. Okay, so here. All right, so what goes in the head section? Title and something, but what's the purpose of the head section? Does the content gets displayed anywhere? For the head? Only in the bar, right? On the header or whatever in the browser heading. Anything that you do, anything you want to display on the page, it has to be part of the body. That's the content. Okay, that's the root. If you put those whatever the other tag, right? Input, whatever tags and other things here, nothing will be displayed. Okay. Now, assuming you know the form tag, hopefully you will get to practice, right? So certain things. So form tag is for input forms and all those things, right? So make sure you understand what are the different tags within the body, specifically the input, because you have radio buttons, you have check boxes, you have text boxes, all those different tags. So all starts with input and then type equals checkbox or type equals radio or type equals text. So it will display text box, checkbox, and all those things. Okay, so make sure you get familiar with the input. Those are important here. Okay. Okay, what about the XML?
One root tag.
Okay, so root element. And then what? Anything else? So here you can define any tags, right? Tag one, tag one, same way. You can have n number of tags, and then you have tags within tags and all those things, right? And you can have tag two here. And within tag 2, you might have something else.
And empty tags can be.
Yeah, you can have empty tags, no worries, right? Okay, so it can go on. You can define whatever structure you need for the data in order to accommodate the data. And it can go on for how many tags you want.
So that is all within the body.
No, there is no body here.
Oh.
Right? Where is the body? There is no body in the XML structure. But HTML has to follow that structure. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the what is SQL stands for? Structured query language, right? And what's the purpose?
Retrieve.
Retrieve data
Is
and
it retrieve?
process data. Whatever.
So CRUD, right?
Yeah.
Perform CRUD operation
Create.
Create, update,
in database. Okay. So SQL is to perform CRUD operation in the database interaction. That's where you need to use SQL. And we talked about C, R, U, and D. There are 4 different commands.
Create.
No, that's the command. But what is the command? SQL command.
Insert.
Insert, right? Okay.
That
All right. What is a read?
Retrieve.
No.
Get.
No.
select.
Select, right? Okay. All right.
Update is update.
That is update. Okay. All right. At least you guys remember.
Delete is delete.
Delete is delete. So those 2 are easy ones. All right. So insert, select, update, and delete. And within select, what do you have? What is the general syntax?
Select.
From where?
Yeah.
Select,
From
well, column names, right? Column names. From what?
One or more tables.
Table.
From
What?
table.
From one table. Cannot select from more than one. That's not a standard. Okay. So from table, from a table. Okay, one table.
that table.
And then if you want to put the filtering,
Where?
where, right? And then Boolean expression or filter condition. Right? So, and within the Boolean expression, what do you have? Within Boolean, it's a column name, column equals whatever, filter condition. This is how you are supplying, right? What column you want to filter on and what data element you are filtering on. Okay, so that's the typical syntax, basically. Now there are a lot more variations here. And I sent you guys one video, which is a really good video. It goes very in depth on the what are different variations and everything. So definitely watch it. It's a 2.5 hour for SQL Camp video that we conducted in the past, and so that will help you understand. Because there are so many variations we just cannot cover in like 1 hour or something. But this is in general syntax, right? So this is what you have.
Keys come here like primary key, maybe column name, and foreign keys comes to table. Is that right?
So let's talk about what is primary key. What's the purpose?
Unique
Unique ID.
So yeah, unique. Every table, right, has a unique value assigned to one of the columns. It identifies the record. It identifies the record uniquely. That's the whole purpose of the primary key. So one or more column can be part of the primary key. Okay. One or more column. But the whole
primary key
purpose.
is for the whole row.
Yeah, for the whole row. Yeah. But it's primary key is defined at a column. Which column can be primary key, and it will contain a value that will identify the row or record. Okay, but it will be a unique value. Okay, it cannot have duplicate value stored in the column. Okay. Now, what is foreign key?
See that references to another table.
So references, so this or points to another table, basically. Primary key, basically. Okay, so whole purpose is to relate the table. That's what it creates the relationships between the tables. Okay, the columns. All right, let's see what else here we had it yesterday. Primary key, foreign key. Yeah, okay, so hopefully that will give you some idea what we had yesterday, right? Technology wise, and stuff. Now we'll move on to actually we'll dive a little bit deeper into the services side. Okay, and we'll talk about we'll build on these services and see what you need to do from the QA standpoint. Okay. You have a question?
Yeah, is it being recorded? Because
Yes,
Thomas is
it's
not
being
here,
recorded.
so-
Yes.
But Thomas is lost to like me.
Trying to excuse us
I know, right?
for you.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So let's move on.
Okay.
So I talked about here, right? XML part. We understand what the XML structure looks like. Let me cover one more piece here, which is called JSON. Okay,
Module 11, right?
module 11. Yep, that's right. Okay, so JSON, right? It's a JavaScript object notation. That's what it's called. It's a data format, just like XML. Okay. It's a JavaScript object notation. JSON. If you look at it, right? JSON from that particular text. Again, it is used same way as XML. System to system communication and data transfer. Okay. It's a plain text written in a JavaScript object notation. Anybody familiar with the JavaScript? What is JavaScript? You don't need to in order to understand JSON, but it works in conjunction with the HTML. So if you want to enforce certain business rules within the browser, you write additional piece of code in the JavaScript, and it will basically enforce certain business rules within the browser. So let's say you open Arflon, and one of the field needs to be required, right? So while you are interacting with the browser, the JavaScript, if you write JavaScript, then when you press submit, right? It will execute that business rule right there in the browser, so it doesn't have to make a round trip to the server. So what I mean by that is, let me show you what I mean. So if I go Azure, just watch me what happens here. Okay. You see here, there is no page refresh, right? If I don't type anything here and click submit, there is no page refresh. Okay. Now if I type in something, now you watch it, page goes back to the server,
Right.
and then comes back.
Yeah.
Okay, so it takes time. When you are submitting all the information, it takes time. It takes maybe 1 second or something to refresh the page.
Okay.
Now, if I don't type in anything here, then it comes immediately,
Yeah,
very fast.
right.
So that's the better user experience that you get when you utilize JavaScript. So what happens is, when I press this button, it executes the JavaScript code right there without submitting all the information to the server, and it shows the error. This error comes right from the browser itself. So JavaScript is enforcing the business rules within the browser. Basically, it helps improve the performance of the websites and so forth. That's the main purpose. JavaScript also, the name includes Java, right? So it's a subset of a Java programming. You can think it that way. Syntax wise, it's very similar to Java. But its main purpose is to improve the browser and enforce the business rules within the browser, within the application. Okay, that's the main purpose. Now, if you are really curious about it, again, I'll refer back to the here. I think you have a JavaScript section here, right? And you can see what it looks like and so forth. So here, introduction. You just go through the introduction. You don't have to know anything for JavaScript as a tester, but it has its own programming, set of programming and so forth. So it says try yourself, right? So if I come here, clicks me. So it doesn't refresh the page. It just shows right there. Okay. So if I do this and run, click me, it will update without refreshing the page. Okay, that you can enforce different kind of rules. What this one does is when I on click of the button, this is a button, right? I can execute this piece of code to set the value. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, so when I run it, right, this is the text right now. This is what text right now. But when I click on it, it will get hold of this content and it will change the content to hello JavaScript. Okay, that's what it's doing without refreshing the page. So you can do a lot of things basically. In all the browsers, they support JavaScript. Like Chrome, Safari, whatever browser, they all support JavaScript. Okay, but it works in conjunction with the HTML. Okay, on top of HTML. This is HTML code. You are writing the JavaScript within HTML. So it's a going additional piece of programming. Okay. That's why when somebody says, I want to become a developer, right? So you have to learn a lot of different components. JavaScript, HTML, C#, you have to learn SQL, you have to learn some frameworks, programming and all those things. It takes about almost a year to get to the real programming level, right? Anyway, but you guys are not going for programming, so it's a good thing. You guys are focusing on the QA. All right. So I'm just giving you a high level overview of what the JavaScript means. So that's where it comes from, JavaScript object notation. Okay, so that's what I showed you was JavaScript. But it is built this data elements, right? Or syntax wise, it is based on JavaScript syntax. Okay, that's why you see the curly braces and some name and value. Okay, it's used to send data between computers, right? So this one is used to send data between computers. Again, same as XML, right? That's the same thing. Now the format wise is very similar to XML. It's just written a little bit differently. So if you look at it, XML has tags and those things. This one does not have tags. Those extra curly brace, those things. So here it just says name and value. So this is a tag, or this is a field, you can call it, and this is the value. This is a field, this is a value, this is a field, this is a value. So it's very simpler than XML.
Yeah.
Plus it's a little bit compressed, meaning there are no extra tags elements and all those things, right? Those no slashes. So it makes it a lightweight or compact format. So when you are sending data over the internet, I mean, the bandwidth is very limited, right? We all know if you are sending large amount of data over the internet, that's where I think most of the people use moving to the JSON instead of XML data exchange, because it's very light. So you can send it. If the data is less, then you can send it very fast over the internet. Okay, and this one will make it a lot faster, your services or wherever you are sending data to.
Is that the format we have to use colon?
Yeah, this is so column, name and value. So it's a name and value pairs.
Okay, with colon.
Yeah, name, field name and the value. Field name and the value, field name and the value. Yeah. Everything has to be in the code, right? Now here, numbers are not in the code. Again, say similar to SQL, right? Numbers, no codes. But here the double quotes are used. This is the standard, right? This is how you should be writing. And if you don't want to specify value, you have to use nulls. Null is just empty value. Null means empty. Okay.
It has to be in the brackets, right?
No, this curly bracket, you need to use a curly bracket. That's why, so that's the syntax for writing the. So it's more like a root. Remember the root, XML has, this one is a root. It has, starts and ends with a curly braces. It's a root.
It looks like, you know, when you are making like a citation,
Uh-huh,
when you write a paper or a thesis and you're making citation,
okay,
doing something like this.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with that, but, yeah, I mean, this is pretty standard now, I mean, in the industry, this particular format. Yep, and we'll see how we can interpret and test it, right? Because we are looking from testing standpoint. You will not be creating anything from scratch. No HTML, no XML, no JSON, but you need to interpret it and validate the information that's coming out from the services. Okay. Sometimes you have to create some test data within JSON or XML. So that's why you need to understand. But from the coding standpoint, you will not be doing anything. Okay, syntax rules. So as I said, I mean, it's a name value pairs, right? Data is separated by commas, right? Each value. So think of each tag. You have different tags. Same way, name John, comma, new tag, age 30, car value is null. Curly braces hold the objects. It's a JavaScript based thing, so that they are calling it objects. So each name in John is an object. It's a string object, and so forth. Now there are arrays, square brackets, hold arrays. So if they are repeating values, then you will have square brackets. And then within that, you will have name John repeats.
Right.
Because remember, within XML, you can repeat the elements as well. Same thing, arrays here. I think might have example here. Let me see if I have for arrays. Yep, there you go. So here, okay, before we dive into arrays, what are the different types? That because it's based on the JavaScript object notation, right? So it's part of the JavaScript objects. So there are different types it supports within JSON. So it's a string or string value, right? You can send in, or you can have number value, right? So number here is a 30, which is not in the code. So it will treat as a number, numeric value. Okay. Then object, JSON object. So as I said, this is based on the JavaScript. So you can define, so I have defined the employees basically, and I can have all the different tags here. So employee has a name, John, age 30, city, New York. Okay, so let me put it this one and in the text here. So if you are writing this one in XML, how would you write it? So I can do employee, name, right? John and slash name. And then I have age 30 and age and city, New York. Okay.
You put attributes in age like
This is how you can write it, right? In the XML. So this one is very compact, right? If you see it, this is much smaller. If you count the number of characters, it will be less here. Okay, but this is how, but this one, they are calling it as an employee tag. So employee object here has basically this structure. Okay, so but it's called object in the JavaScript when you have tag within tags as nested structure. Okay. Then it talks about multiple employees, right? So if you have employees, or let me copy it here. So let's say we have XML, we have something like this. Right? This is employees. Okay. Okay, so this is first employee, then I will have second employee, right? And then John Doe, whatever, age is 40. City is whatever city is, right? So this is a multiple employees within the employees, right? These are multiple values. So similar way, we can write same thing in JavaScript. Now here it's only one basically value here. So we can have this employees like that, and then we can repeat one tag. So what it means is there's only name tag here. Okay. We are not talking about multiple tag, it has only name tag. This is how XML structure would look like in order to accommodate something similar to this. Okay, or you can have name, Jane, name, something like that, basically. So you can repeat the tags, basically. All right. So but this is called array, right? It supports, it's a square brackets. And you can pass in multiple values. Okay, so this is an array, and array is nothing but a list of values. That's all it is. Okay, array is a list of values. Kind of like a drop down, right? Drop down list. You have Columbus, all the city. Similar way, I can say cities, and I can send in list of values: Columbus, Dublin, all this things. Okay, so there is a Boolean value as well. It supports Java. Now XML doesn't support any different types of values, right? It is everything is a string. Everything is text in XML. Here you can specify what values. So it's a little bit gives you more granular control in JSON. Okay. So here this is a true or false. Boolean is nothing but true or false. Okay. So if I have false value, I can just say sale is false. Finally, null is also a type here, data type. Middle name, null. So it's empty value. In XML, you just don't specify anything. It will automatically be treated as null or blank. Okay, so this, why it is like that? Because it's built on JavaScript. And it supports similar data types as JavaScript. Okay. Now, good thing you are not writing from scratch, right? So that's a good part. But when the data comes in, or when you are sending the data, developers will typically provide you what the JavaScript, what JSON format you need to send, but you need to fill in your test data. Okay, so you're not going to be creating from scratch, but they will say, okay, you come up with your scenario. I'm sending in for loan calculator, right? You are sending in payment. What is that? Loan amount. So they will give you JSON, and then you will plug in the loan amount numbers within the JSON or XML, and you are interpreting the result. What is the monthly payment comes on? Type of thing.
So then, so when you put information, you have to run it for the report, right?
You have to run it for actual test execution, because remember, there is no user interface for you to actually type in and say submit. That's where we talk about those tools like a SOAPUI and Postman,
Yeah.
where you can plug in this type of information, execute it, and interpret the results within those tools. Okay, that's why the tool like SOAPman and Postman are used for backend system communication type of thing, testing out that part. Okay, any question on what we talked about today? JSON wise. Okay, so here one example comparison wise here. Right, this is a JSON versus XML, right? So this is employees. Then I have a, what is this array? List of employees, right? I can have a list of employees in XML like this, right? First name, John Doe, whatever name, last name. I can write it in JSON, something similar to this. These are both are same, just one in different format. This is more compact. This one is XML. You can see, I mean, how many tags and other thing it has. What is it?
So what's the point of you having an XML? You can just like use JSON, right?
Yeah, no. So that's why most of the companies are moving towards JSON. What the new services companies are writing that for system to system communication, they all support JSON now.
Is it open source?
Yeah, this is, everything is open source. It's a standard, it's a industry standard. So nobody owns anything, it's just a format, right, data format. But there is a purpose of using XML because I think we'll dive into another topic soon. It supports only XML, system to system communication wise. Some services, they only support XML, some type of service. Okay. Now there are drawbacks of using JSON as well. And we will see as we go through. Okay. All right. So
Do we know which year they both were created, like external and?
they've been around for a long time. But JSON is fairly new, I mean, but it's still like 10-15 years old. The XML is older than that. Okay, so just let's take a look at the comparison wise, right? Both are self-describing, right? Easy to read as well. Both are hierarchical, value within values and all those things, right? Both supports. Both can be parsed by a lot of different tools and programming languages. Pretty much everybody can do JSON or XML parsing. Both JSON and XML can be supported over the internet as well. Both are supported. So if I'm calling some service over the internet, service is nothing but a piece of code that is accessible over HTTP or HTTPS or internet, basically. Both JSON and XML can be fetched using the HTTP objects within the programming. Okay. Now, JSON, what's the difference between JSON and XML? It doesn't use tag. It's shorter, right? It's much shorter, much quicker to read and write. Not complexity. JSON can use arrays and the data types. Okay, data types as well. XML doesn't. XML cannot. The biggest difference is XML has to be parsed with the XML parser. So in the programming world, there are certain libraries. So let's say you are sending XML to some system, they need to have a program written in C# or Java, basically, which can use XML parsing. So there are some libraries, they have to use it to load the XML and then they can do it, read it basically, to read or write. Yeah. Now JSON can be parsed within a browser or something, basically, can be parsed by standard JavaScript function, basically, within a browser. But this one has to be done in the backend and so forth. Okay, XML is only supported via backend. All right, so that's another format to work through, or you need to know, I mean, not work through, I mean, you need to understand. Because these days, I mean, pretty much everybody use JSON, I mean, services in the backend. Okay. Any other question on this topic? Jivan, you woke up?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. You got a question.
So you said they send this data through system to system, right?
Yeah.
Is it through emails or?
No, it's over the internet. So imagine some bank wrote a code and they put it on some web server. Some web server.
Okay.
So we talked about the web server. I think Dilip talked about it yesterday, right? Where you can host your website.
Yeah, like
Right.
domain.
But you can also host this type of code as well, the services code. And that is accessible only via HTTP or HTTPS. So just like a browser, what you are doing for Airflow, right?
Mhm.
For in order to access this piece of code, you can also do HTTP and they will have a URL for the piece of code.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's the way you can access the code.
so do we need to have like a credential to access these?
Yeah, they will be, it will be secure. Sometimes they will provide you username and password,
Uh-huh.
or sometimes you have to send it via tool, basically. So if you just access it, it may not work because there is nothing. Because you have to send the information in and you need to get the information out.
Okay.
Sometimes it may not work. But there might be credentials as well, username, password they will provide you, which will prompt up, which will, as soon as you type in the URL, hit enter, it will say, okay, please enter your credential, something like that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, they are secure because it's data, right?
Yes, yes.
People can steal their credit card and all kind of stuff, I mean, so.
Okay.
All right, so let's dive into what's the purpose of what you understood, right? So we talked about XML and TML, but how do we practically use it from the testing standpoint and where it comes in?
Mhm.
So that API testing. Okay. What is API? What is web services? What are different protocols? What different types of services? Where XML, JSON comes in? What's tools? We'll see, and we'll do some hands-on on those things. Okay. All right. Now APIs, right? The theoretical definition you will get lost. Okay. I'll let you read it. See if you have any question. Okay, just read it for fun. If you can understand what is it. It's like I don't know, the Hindi movie, one of the Hindi movie, Three Idiots, right? Somebody was asking the definition of what is that book or something, or library, and somebody explained like a machine.
Machine, yeah,
Machine.
and then he explained.
And he explained, and that's exactly what it is.
Oh, okay.
You'll get to do it.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll let you read it, see if you understand anything. Okay, so everybody good? Read through it,
Just
right?
1 minute, sorry.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I just read.
All right, good. So what you guys understood, since you guys read it,
It's a protocol and tools to build a software application.
it's a software, basically application, right?
Right.
That you have to build such a way, basically. I mean, it's a software application, right? So it always has the inputs and outputs. Remember, the programming, yesterday Dilip talked about block of code. You always have input, you always expect something output, right? It's a piece of software, basically software, right? It has input and output and underlying data types or data types, basically. Now APIs expose, it says defined functionality, but it exposes the functionality, basically, that are independent of the respective implementation, which allow definition, implement, try to compromise each other. Okay, so that's where I think people will get lost. Okay, but this is a book definition. But let's little bit chat here. All right, so we have our application. All right. Okay, so this is our rflown, right? And rflown has a loan calculator. So right now, in order to access a loan calculator, you have to log in as some user to the rflown application and go to the loan calculator page and access that functionality, right? Now this functionality is part of the rflown application. Nobody else can access from anywhere except web the application itself, rflown. Now, what if you come up with the idea that, hey, I built the load calculator. Maybe some other companies are doing similar business. Maybe they want to use our load calculator. Okay, so you build a piece of code, just a load calculator functionality. Okay, and you build the functionality so that other software, anybody else who wants to use the load calculator, they can access it outside of the basically another application. Okay, let's say this one might be some other similar to whatever they are doing for our flow. Maybe some other application one. We just call it app one. There is another app two. This guy is sitting in India. They don't want to spend money building their own load calculator. And they want to use our functionality. There's this guy in Vietnam or something. Another guy might be in US. So they all want to use this functionality. Load calculator. So what we do from the Rflow standpoint, we write a piece of code, basically just a load calculator functionality, and we deploy it on our web server. Okay, so that it gets its own URL. Okay, so this load calculator is a software component that we're gonna deploy.
Right.
It is accessible over HTTP over the internet. It has its own URL.
Okay.
Only thing it does is you send in $1,000, it gets you $30. Only that piece of functionality is exposed over internet. Okay, so it has some input you need to provide, and it will get you monthly payment. Okay, so only that part. So what this application will do is they will call our service. Basically, so we expose the service. This is considered as a service because we are providing service to other applications.
Right.
Okay, so this is a service. So other application can integrate this service by, if we provide them a URL, they can call our service. And they can send it within their application. They might have a screen similar to Rflow screen that says, okay, you input this this amount. It will when you say calculate, it will actually call this piece of component over the internet, and they will get the monthly payment back, and they will display it within their application.
Okay.
Same thing, application 2 can do the same thing, application 3. Now Rflow, why we want to do that, right? So Rflow can charge 1 cent for every transaction.
Gotcha. Okay.
And these guys makes money by exposing the service. They are providing service. Rflow is providing service to app 1 and app 2. That's where this web service name came in. It's a service. The software is providing a service to other applications, so that other application doesn't have to build a complex piece of logic. Same thing, the merchant, right? Credit card processing, what they are doing. They are charging 2% of the fees just to validate your credit card.
All right.
They are making money. And how many transactions? Millions of transactions daily basis. They do it. That's the reason people are in the business of building the services. Now,
All these travel, airlines, banking, all these people use such kind of things, right? For booking tickets and all.
that's correct. That's correct. Pretty much everybody uses some type of services these days within their application. You have a question, Mary?
So is that in merchant services?
That is same as, but merchant service is sometime when you go to the terminal, right? In the Great Clips, you pay the credit card, they connect via phone. Okay, they are not, your credit card is hooked up validated via phone. Remember, you have a machine
Okay.
that is hooked up via phone. But if you go to the small merchants, which might be using some other mechanism, they actually validate via services like this. But again, service is accessible over phone versus internet. Okay, it's a service, merchant service basically. Right? So this is where. Now, how does the the other application needs to know? So they need to know what methods or what function this service exposes. Basically, what are the operations of the load calculator? They need to, because they need to call it via piece of code, right? So they need to understand what are the operations that this service exposes, and what are the inputs and outputs. That three pieces of information they need to know. For each operation, they need to know input and output. What's the output that comes out? Okay, so as long as they know, then they can integrate. If they know this thing, then they can integrate the piece of code that can and build that functionality without writing anything within the app. Okay. Now input and output, and how to call the service. That's where the XML and JSON comes into picture. So when they are calling this web service, they can call it using the XML, send the data in, send the monthly, send the loan amount information as input using the XML. And when the loan calculator returns the information, it can be XML or JSON. In our case, the monthly payment that goes out as output as XML in the XML format or JSON format. Okay, so this is where XML and JSON comes in. Now, from your testing standpoint, you need to build this request. You need to send in, because your test case is test this functionality, right? Loan calculator. So I need to send in $1,000. I need to interpret is the 30 coming back on me, right? It depends on the service, what inputs and outputs, but you need to build those requests and send and interpret the returns. So this is a web service, right? Web service. Then loan calculator. Now let's come back here. Hopefully that gives you some picture of what the web services are, right? Or API. Services are also called API, application programming interface, right? It's essentially application programming interfaces, which exposes inputs, outputs, and certain operations. Okay, so that's what the API or specification or the services as well. Now, so web service, we understand it's a communication between two applications, right? But essentially, it will exchange the data between the two systems. There are two specifications for web service implementation. Two different specifications. I think that SOAP is the old one, REST is a new one. New ones meaning 10-15 years old. SOAP is probably 20 to 30 years old. Okay. SOAP supports XML only. So when you are talking about SOAP-based services, it supports only XML data communication, data exchange. REST, representational state transfer architecture. So these are specifications, how you build the web services. So how you build this load calculator component, basically. You can build it via SOAP-based protocol or the REST-based. If I'm building today, I would go with the REST-based architecture because it supports both XML and JSON. If I'm building 15 years ago, I might have built with the SOAP, which supports XML. Okay. Now, I talked about how does the application, another application know what functions, what the inputs and outputs are for the service. Kind of like application 1 and application 2, right? These applications needs to know what are the operations of the service, what is the input, what is the output. So in the SOAP-based communication, SOAP-based service, SOAP-based, which is an older protocol, they have a standard way of exposing that information. What are the functionalities available? What are the inputs, outputs? Okay, so SOAP-based service has a thing called Wisdom. It's like a menu of all the services. So if you go to the Great Clip, right, you have a menu of what services they provide. Similar way, your web service can expose Wisdom document that describe what are the inputs and outputs and what functionalities, what functions are available. And I'll show you one example, so it makes sense. Okay. But the REST-based service does not have that mechanism. So you need to provide some type of documentation to the other guy, other service basically, or other application, so that they can call your REST-based services. So it might be a PDF format document or some online documentation. Okay. So let me just show you what the WSDL looks like for SOAP-based service. Okay, so that way it will give you some more context. So I'm going to come here. And let me find. Okay, so I'm going to get this particular URL. Okay, so let me explain what this is. So this is a web service. It's a calculator, right? We all know what the calculator is. Some support some basic functions, addition, operation, deletion, whatever.
Right.
Right. And so service will have some type of URL. It is exposed over internet. So this is a piece of code. Calculator piece of code is sitting at this URL. So somebody has deployed on that server, web server, and I can access this piece of code using this URL. Okay, so now I'm going to hit enter. So it gives me some basic information. Okay, but I'm interested in the WSDL document, web service, because this is an old service. It is based on the SOAP based specification. So I know I can access using WSDL. So all SOAP based services, you just need to put WSDL question mark WSDL at the end, and it will tell you the actual WSDL document. This is the XML. It's all about XML, SOAP based service WSDL. But good thing about it describes what functions are available, what are the inputs and outputs. That's what we are interested in. Now you look at here, it's pretty complex, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big document, but it has all the things that we need. What are the operations and all those things. Now operations would be here typically. You have multiply operation, you have subtract, you have divide and all those things. If you like XML, you can read the WSDL document here. But that's where the tool comes in. So tools like SOAPUI and Postman, they come in. It gives you, because this is complex, right? You don't care. I mean, what these things are. You don't want to care. So let me do how we can use the tool to come up with the this thing. So that's where I'm going to open a SOAPUI. Just pay attention here. I'll get you a chance to work through it here. We will do a lot of practice on this one. Okay, so when you open the tool like SOAPUI, it will automatically pop up certain things. Okay, and we'll close out this guy. So important part is it has a project, right? It's a project based. Any tool you're gonna work with it will always have a project. Project is nothing but collection of all the files or any artifacts you create, you organize in a project. Okay, so we are talking about a SOAP project. So you can create a SOAP project by clicking on the SOAP. If you are working with the REST-based service testing, then you can click on REST and create a new REST service. But we're not going to worry about that now. Let's focus on the SOAP. So we'll do SOAP, click on it, and it will ask you for WSDL. Because it needs to know what is operations, the service operations, what is inputs, outputs, and then it will create some testing information for you. So what I copied is a WSDL URL. So this calculator.asmx is a URL, and it is a question mark WSDL at the end. So this is the URL you need to supply for the WSDL, and all you have to do is click OK. So what it does is tool will go to that site, read the XML document, and then it will present you in a nice format. What are the operations? Basically, so it has 4 operation here: add, divide, multiply, and subtract.
Okay.
All right. And you can see, and it will build a test request for you. Because these are testing tools, right?
Okay.
So I can expand add. It says request what? This is a test request for this operation. So I have 4 operations. Now there is a different specifications here, right? It supports 2 protocols: SOAP 1, SOAP 1.0 and 1.2. So you can pick any of them. It's again, there is no programming or anything here. So you can pick one of them and for testing purpose and just try to call the service and see what happens. So let's see how we can test add operation. So I'm going to click on the request one, double click on it. It will actually open the XML,
Just add, right? Just
Yeah.
Add.
right? This is add operation,
Add
right?
request.
Now it interpreted the WSDL and built the request for you, test request.
Okay.
All you have to do is fill in the information, data, basically. Now, how do you know what to fill up? Because you know it's an add operation. Add meaning that it takes 2 values, int A and integer B. There is a question mark here. Question mark is the one that you need to fill in. That piece of data element. So you understand the logic for add operation? We all do, right?
Yeah.
1 plus 1 supposed to be 2. Okay, so if I send in my test data as 1 and send in another test data as 2, what would be my expected result? 3, right? So again, your expected result and other things, you need to come up with that. This is a fairly commonly known knowledge, right? So we all know what's supposed to be the logic here. But if you are testing like loan calculator type of service, you will be given a 1-page type of calculation document. Hey, this is a requirement document for the service. This is what the input should be. This is what's supposed to be the output.
So you don't have to run anything here?
No, you have to run because this is just a request.
Yeah.
You are sending the information, but you need to execute the request and interpret the output so that you know, okay, it worked or not. Okay. So how do I run this green button?
Okay.
Okay. So now I can say submit request to specified endpoint URL. It says here. So I'm going to execute that. And it throws me this type of thing, right? So it shows me raw XML by default. But I can click on here XML. So these are interchangeable. Okay. So there are different ways here. So if I do raw here, it will look something like that. Okay, this is input, this is output. So this is my output, and it says result is 3. So now I'm going to compare with the expected versus actual. This is the test execution. Remember, this is the execution component. So here all you are doing is filling in these 2 pieces of information, executing it. It shows you result 3. You're gonna say pass that step. Okay, and it will work fine. Does it make sense? The overall process wise, execution wise. Okay. Any question here for the SOAP?
We don't have to worry about the raw, right? We just need to open.
Yeah, raw meaning it's just a different format. I mean, data is there. So if I go here, I see add result 3. This one presents you in a nice way.
It's easy to read.
Yeah. Now let me explain you what this thing is. Okay, so that you know and what this thing looks like. So that you understand the request, SOAP-based request. So remember, in the HTML, you have a head, right? What is HTML tag? Something similar, right? This is what you have in HTML, right? Similarly, in a SOAP-based request, there is a component called SOAP envelope. This is XML, right? We are sending in XML, it's coming out XML. Okay, so this is the SOAP envelopes. This is the root. So you're gonna see SOAP envelope here, SOAP envelope at the bottom, Then you will have a header. Okay, so this is within that you have a header. Now this is an empty header, remember. /s. I can write this guy as something like this, right? Empty header. Write this as well, right? But here they have written compressed way like this. Okay. Within that, then you have body. Then you have body, right? So this is a body component, and then within the body, so this is what your XML request looks like. This is how you are sending it with it. So you have envelope, you will always have to send it this way. Okay. Now, good thing about if you are building from scratch, you have to build it that way, but the tool is already building it for you. But I'm explaining you what these components are so that you understand. So you have a header and body. So it's an envelope. Header contains the address basically, and body will contain the actual inputs here in our case. Same thing in the output, you're gonna see the similar thing here. So envelope will have here the specification, whatever it is, then you have body. So header, they don't have header here, but it's an empty header. You can interpret it as an empty header. I can put it something like this as well. Okay, but your response will always be in the body section. Okay, and this is where your response is coming out. This is where you are interpreting your response.
That's our concentration. That's what you need to concentrate on.
Yeah, this is the specification you need to understand, because sometimes you might have to build it from scratch, who knows? As long as you are building it something similar, but most of the time, if you are using tool, you will not build from scratch. Okay, but you need to understand what these components are. So it is a header component and body component. Body component is that's where your inputs and output parameters are defined. And you need to read through and populate inputs and outputs or read it from there.
You do the input and then you run for the output.
Yep, you validate the output, right? You validate the output.
So basically you will be provided the URL, right?
You will be provided URL, yep, by developers, because you need to know the URL, where the service is sitting, how you can access it. If there is a username, password, they will be given to you. Okay, developer will provide that. There will be a requirements document as well, describing what are you testing, what you're supposed to, what is your scope for testing. Whether it's a load calculator, they provide you the calculation. And you need to interpret the calculation, come up with your test data, positive scenario, negative scenario. So if I sending -1 here, right? What are your scenarios here? If I send in -1, supply to 2, similar to that, so it gives me 1. Right? So you need to come up with your testing based on the add operation, division, and all those things.
So which type of testing is that? How you call it?
This is still manual testing.
No, it's like it's not, it's like small or so what's the name?
No, this is actual functionality testing. You are testing the web service functionality, whether this add operation works or not, right? It's a functionality.
So where do we update the test? It's passed. Azure DevOps?
Yeah, so you will write the test case in DevOps. Same way, you will have a story.
Yep.
That says add operation functionality, basically make sure the add operation works if you do whatever functionality is done.
Right.
You will come with the within the you will create a test case there. How do you write this testing?
Right,
Open the SOAPUI, go through the steps.
right,
What input
Expected.
you're gonna be passing, what is your expected outcome for each step.
right.
Then when the service is ready, you will actually follow the steps and see if the service works.
Okay. The actual result got 3, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So we update the.
You will
test
go
case.
and pass the scenario, you're gonna run the test case in the DevOps.
Okay.
You will follow your own instructions, you will pass it or fail it, if something doesn't work, you will open a defect,
Okay,
right? Same process, nothing changes.
right.
Okay. All right, make sense? So let's do one thing. I sent you all the different services. Let's work through SOAP UI component. See if you can use the calculator one first. See if you can test it, understand what the project looks like.
Right.
Structure looks like, execute it, see how it works. Then we'll dive into the rest step of service. Okay, so this is the SOAP-based service testing only. The rest we will see, we're using the Postman.
So / came after header, right? So in HTML, you put before. So at the beginning, so you see that, so,
Yeah, service talking, you're talking about this one?
no, in the coding itself, right there.
This one?
So HTML, you see the / at the beginning, so.
No, there is no forward slash at the beginning. Here, this one just says it's an empty tag. So I could have written this, something like this. It's an empty tag, right? It's
Yeah,
just
something
a
like
compressed
that.
one.
Yeah.
This is how you can write it. It's the same
Exactly.
thing as the other one. You can run it and it should work just fine.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's just a compressed way of writing.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So you all have SOAP UI, right? So you know how to open it, SOAP UI. And I think most of you will see this yellow ones, right? The version might be different, but you just open it. And you need to create a SOAP-based SOAP project, okay? Whatever it opens, you can just close out. And then you open create a SOAP project by clicking on SOAP. Okay, it will ask for a WSDL. This is where you will need the URL. And I sent you URLs in the email, right?
That art one, right?
So you will use the calculator URL. Okay, it's already there. Okay, so use the calculator URL, copy it. Now, if you want to see the WSDL, you copy that URL, put it in a browser. If you want to see what the WSDL looks like, right? So you copy the URL, put it in a browser, and see the actual WSDL. This is actually XML WSDL looks like. Okay, so what test case, right? So let's see what you guys have. Anybody wants to go with what you came up with? Anybody wants to review there?
You can just say, the test case would be entering positive temperatures in Fahrenheit.
Okay, so scenario, so you are which operation you are testing?
Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Okay, so Fahrenheit to F to C, right? Okay,
Yeah.
Fahrenheit to Celsius, okay. What are the scenarios you have?
You can have, positive numbers, enter positive numbers, negative, 0, integers, fractions, text.
Integer, well, so enter positive, so what
Yeah.
does it mean, positive? So integers,
Anything over 0, 0 to whatever.
95.
okay, enter positive values, okay?
Yeah.
For temperature,
Right.
okay? What is the second one
Enter negative.
for temperature?
Or,
Yeah.
Question here.
Yeah,
You're right about, your question was right. What do you mean about positive? Because if we're talking about negative, it can be negative 20 degrees. negative
Yes,
50 degrees.
negative 50.
It would not give you an error.
That's
It
correct.
still give you like a positive error. I mean, a
Positive.
positive as
Values, yeah, positive numbers, basically, right?
Numbers. Yeah.
For temperature, right? So positive number, that's what you are inputting. Enter negative number
First,
for temperature, right?
Right.
it still give you the correct as.
you can have enter fractions. You're just testing it. So, or what do you say? Or decimals or fractions. There can be any number of scenarios.
What else? Anything else?
Leave it blank.
Blank, I just said blank, the
Text.
zero.
We'll throw
Enter text,
Enter blank.
blank text.
Okay. Anything else?
Special characters,
Enter spatial
Special
character.
characters.
Okay.
enter your name,
Anything else?
like name, whatever.
Well, it's spatial character, right? So anything with their okay.
Zero,
Okay, enter 0
Yeah.
for temperature.
It'll give you,
Anything else?
0 is a positive number because 0 degrees is 32 Fahrenheit.
How about
Well,
negative-
but you're supposed to test it, see if it gets you 32, right?
How about negative
It's
zero?
still a positive number.
Negative zero?
It's still,
Positive, I mean, 0, I mean, you can argue it's 1, 2, 3 is a positive, 0 is 0.
no, 0 is still a temperature.
We just need
It's
to
still a
check our
temperature,
test,
yeah,
right?
it's a
The
temperature.
sun is
This is all the
48 Fahrenheit.
But, so you can have one scenario, I mean, have additional scenario, or you can combine with the positive number, it's up to you. But you are the tester, right? So somebody might write one more scenario for 0. See if it works. It gets you right 32 or whatever.
So negative zero?
There is no negative 0.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
negative.
I'm sure.
You wanna try negative 0, I mean, okay, enter negative 0 for temperature. This will keep on adding numbers, right? So it's all your test data, right? So you are a tester, you can come up with all different kind of scenarios. All right, so now what are the steps here? Pick one.
so can we have the same use case, same test case and give different testing?
No,
No?
you don't wanna do that, because if something fails, you don't know what failed. You wanna create separate ones. Okay, you wanna have separate test cases.
Because all the positive, it says either integer or decimal, it's positive.
I know, but when you execute it, you can do that, but I think you wanna have scenarios that are documented separately. Yep. Okay, so now the actual detailed test case, who wrote the detailed one? All right, go ahead.
So go to the application URL.
Well, are you going to the application URL here?
I put the weather
Maybe.
application.
Like columbusweather.com or something.
Well, are you testing that or are you testing the service?
Uh,
So you
Testing
can't go to
service.
different URL, you are testing the service here that we give you.
The URL of the temperature conversion.
But where are you gonna go? Are you gonna go in a browser?
You can copy the
What are your steps? How would you test that service?
You need to copy the URL first.
Well,
Oh,
okay, let's assume you have a URL, but what are your steps here?
Go to the link that you have provided, the web services. Right?
Uh,
So.
Are you going to the, so think through what you are doing in the, with what tool and all other things, right? How would you test this service? Okay, if I go to the URL, what I give you in a browser, am I be able to test this service? You can.
You open so.
Yeah, so you write down the exact steps, what is that you are doing, right? SOAP UI, then what?
Copy the temperature conversion.
Enter Visual URL
Yeah.
for the service, right? Okay,
Okay. And then
Add the new project.
well, okay, well, you're adding that, that's where you are adding, right? Enter Visual URL for a new project. For a SOAP service.
See that,
Now what?
we need to see that.
Click to,
The temperature,
See that the Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Okay, so you are testing Celsius to Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah.
For here scenarios are for Fahrenheit to Celsius,
Yeah. That's all.
right? Okay, create test request for Fahrenheit to Celsius operation. Okay. Now then what? Once you have a test request, then what is it that you need to do? Remember, what are you testing? What scenario you are testing?
Enter positive number.
Positive.
Test request,
Enter
Mm.
positive,
positive numbers.
okay, what exactly you gonna test? Positive numbers,
That's recorded.
We enter the data.
okay, so 40, all right, let's say we pick 40. then what?
Then run,
And
run
run the,
test,
The test, and then what?
expect the result.
And what are you expecting?
Who did the first one?
You need to fill all the details, right? What are you expecting?
4.4.
4.4, yeah.
Point four as a result, right?
It's the Celsius, right? It's degree Celsius, right?
Okay, anything else? Do you have any precondition for the scenario?
Temperature successfully.
No, you don't have precondition here. I mean, post condition, precondition,
Celsius should be the.
well, that's the expected result, right?
Yeah,
That is expected result, and then you are done with the, if you are getting 4.4, then you are done, right? There is no precondition or post condition here, because you are not changing anything, you're just reading the information, see if the calculation works.
so this one precondition cannot be like, so tester have the valid ID in the system.
Do you need ID? What ID you will need?
You just have
To
to.
log in,
Wait, what login? Are you supplying any login credential?
okay, if you go to the company, which they won't give you.
No, I'm talking about this service, what I
Okay,
give you, right?
No,
Yeah.
not right now.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Now, if the company has a login, yes, you fill in all the details, log in and then do service, whatever. Now, if I execute this service, now when it comes to actual testing, then you basically open SOAPUI and create a new SOAP project. Okay, and then I'm gonna supply this URL, with the URL. It automatically puts the project name. You click OK. So second project is added, right? And Fahrenheit to Celsius, which one we had? Fahrenheit to Celsius, right? That's the one. So I'm gonna click on request one. I'm gonna fill in 40. Run it, see what happens.
Once.
Now I'm getting 4.4444. So is your test case passed or failed?
Test.
It's not passed, right? It's failed because you are expecting 4.4. So either you correct your test case or correct the result.
Yeah.
There are two possibilities. Because your expected result doesn't match 4.4.
So we don't have proper requirements.
No, you don't have proper test case, test verification.
Test result.
Test results you input incorrectly in your test case. Because you should be putting in 4.4444 for exact value.
The change in around it to single decimal.
No, but that will create an issue.
Yes.
If it returns 4.44, then you are comparing against 4.4, which is not the same.
But Hassan, did you go?
So
back
either
to-
you correct your test case or we create a defect for the actual thing, right? Okay. So,
Can we just write?
well, you're gonna write for your homework anyway. Create in Azure DevOps. So one test case, you will write it detail. Basically, yeah.
This same test case or the different?
Yeah, you will get you another test case for homework. So,
Oh.
yeah. But you're gonna create something similar in
If
Azure.
we do in Azure DevOps, should we open it in same also UI or?
Can you test it in Azure DevOps? Can you, yeah, that you need to use the tool in order to execute the step. This is for executing the step.
No,
But this is
we'll
part
just
so.
Yeah.
Copy the same.
Yeah, because you're gonna follow your steps, you're gonna run it in Azure DevOps, but you're gonna follow the instruction, open SOAPUI. So you will say, I'm gonna open SOAPUI. I'm gonna get the URL plugged in, create a project in SOAPUI. This would be your steps in Azure DevOps, documented. Don't get confused with Azure DevOps, it's a test management tool that you are using for. This is a test execution, SOAPUI, you are doing the execution for testing the web service here.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So after we go to Azure DevOps and we write the test case, then we go to SOAP to execute.
No, you go in Azure DevOps, you're gonna run the test case.
on Azure.
Run the test case, right?
Yes.
Because you know how to run it. Right click on the
on the-
test case and then run it. It will pop up on window.
Yes.
You're gonna follow the instruction, what you wrote. Open SOAP UI, open the SOAP UI. Enter visual URL, you're gonna enter visual URL in SOAP UI. And then run it. See if it works,
Okay.
end to end.
So that means it's like we are using two separate apps.
Yeah, you might have to use 5 different tools to do different things, but everything will be documented in the DevOps.
Okay, we run it and then we run it.
This is still manual testing, okay? There is no automation anywhere. You are still doing manually everything. Okay, so everybody good? Go and execute it so that you get familiar with the second service. Everything else will be for homework. We're gonna move on to the rest service afterwards.
I think we understand.
Did you create a project? You still need to create a separate project, right? Test project.
I think once you create it, you see that the result, I'm getting something.
Okay, so if you can look at here, this is the ones you are testing, Fahrenheit to Celsius. You have request 1. So you open the request 1. Then you have Fahrenheit to Celsius. This is a parameter, right? You are changing the value to 40 here. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
You ran it? What are you giving you?
I think that the photo, about something just.
What is it showing you?
Something, I don't know, it's not giving her the same,
Is it showing you something like this?
It's showing, yeah.
Yeah, so you click on the XML here.
Okay.
It's like default, we show you.
It show you the raw information.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just get familiar with the tool, okay?
Yeah, she got it now. Okay.
Alright, yeah.
So now you have it. The answer was in the raw form, so now you get it. So that's it. So then you go,
Okay. All right, so I think everybody has this up and running, right? This test case as well. So what you want to do is, as part of the homework, you have a number conversion service, right? And the text casing, or what is that? Text casing. What it does is it converts the string basically. There are some certain functions in there. It will, if you supply certain string, it will reverse the string. Some of the functions are there. So maybe write a test case for one of that, document it in the DevOps. I'll put an instruction what you need to do. Okay, as part of that, what service you can test, but just play around with the number conversion as well.
Okay.
Okay, so this service has basically number to word. So if you type in 10, it will, as a number, it will come back as TEN 10. Number convert number to word. Number to $. So if you put in 10, it will say $10, something like that. Okay, so one of the service I'll send you as part of the homework. Make sure you test it and play around at home.
So how about the test case? It has a token thing inside.
And don't worry about the token one.
Uh-huh.
Token one is sometimes you will need the token as part of the security.
Okay.
Because if so many people hits from the one IP, it will block it. So
Right.
if you go and do it from home, then you will be okay,
Okay.
right? Then you don't need token. But if like 10 people are hitting from here, it will work for 2 people, the other people will not work. Okay. So they block it, thinking of somebody's trying to bombard the system. So I'll send you that.
So this is part of what you sent us to.
Yeah, I already sent you, but I'll send you what you need to do as part of the homework. Okay, just practice, it's more practice. What is it? Okay. All right, so let's move on.
Let's move on, that's what I said. Are we done?
No, we are never done. Okay, there are a lot more things to go through. All right, Joyce, I think let's pay attention here. You guys will have a chance to work at home and practice more at home as well. So I'm gonna show you one more tool. So this SOAPUI is a popular tool, right? But there is another tool called Postman. I think all of you have installed Postman as well. But Postman is more widely used for testing the REST-based services. For SOAPUI, it has the name SOAP in it. So it was created originally a long time ago for testing the SOAP-based services. But that doesn't mean you cannot test the REST service as well using the SOAPUI. So you can test the REST-based service using SOAPUI. There is a REST project here, right? And it asks you for URL and all those things.
So here we give Western or?
No, here, see, Wisdom is for SOAP-based services only. It gives you nice little XML document. You can read and interpret it and check all the operations and methods, inputs, outputs, all those things. Right. For REST-based service, it doesn't do the same, doesn't work the same way. Either you have a specification document that you send to the other company who wants to use your service, or they'll provide you some online way of some other mechanism. Okay, so let me go to so I'm gonna pick one service, kind of like I already sent you this service, I think. So what this service does is it returns a list of universities depending on the country that you supply. So here I'm sending it basically country equals India as basically as part of the service. And it sends me list of universities that are available in India. Now remember, what format is this? This is a JSON format, okay? So generally it's very popular, JSON format is very popular, returns you tons of data. I can keep on going and, but it comes very fast, okay? But hopefully you can recognize what is coming out. Right. Okay, so within each, it's a name value pair, right? State, Dehradun, country, India, domains. Now this is an array, right? So it's a list. So it has only one domain here. Web pages, what is the URL of that site or the educational institute? Then alpha 2 code. This is again country code. What is the name of the university? Okay, so it repeats the same information, different records. What is a state? What is a country? And all those things. So if I supply something here, Ghana, hopefully let's see if I can get any Kenya. All right, let's try see if they have any data for Kenya. Now you need to know what data they have. Okay, what is they might in the requirement, they might say we support India, Ghana, Kenya, whatever countries, and you need to focus on testing only those piece of information. So for Kenya, it is there, right? It returns the result. So you have African International University, you have African Nazarene University, all different university information and their websites and all those things. Now, if you are testing this service, how do you know what operations are here? So here there is a search operation and it takes in this parameter input. Okay, so this is a URL, right? This is a typically URL. Then you are sending the parameter as country Kenya, like that. Okay, in a browser. You can test it in a browser or you can test it using the tool. Okay, but you need to know how to test this service and how to send in the parameter. Again, let me just go to the service URL, which is search. So if I go to the search and do WSDL, will it work? It will not, right? Because this one, This one will just show me the results here. Okay. If there is no wisdom, there is no specification for the service available. So let me see if I have any other way. So if I type in only this URL, it still shows me the same thing, basically. So generally, they will send you the document that explains what are the operations available and what parameters you need to pass.
So this is JSON, right?
This is JSON.
JSON.
This is JSON, name value pair. State is null, country is Ukraine, year. I don't know what data is written here. Because I'm not sending any parameter, it probably dumps out all the countries and all the universities in the database. Okay. But let's come back to the tool and see how we can test it in SOAPUI. I'll just show you quickly here. Okay, so here I have two SOAP projects. I know it's a REST service, so I'm going to come here REST, and I'm going to send in the basically operation. Search is operation. I can send in the parameters right there. So let me just come back in here and copy it. The actual, this is the operation, but this is how you can specify parameters. Question mark, then country, this is the field name, and then equals what value. Yeah, this is how you are specifying the parameter. And I'm going to say click OK. And again, it works very similarly. Create a request, right? And if I see it, it looks a little bit different. Okay, so it says country and value is India. If I run it, it's giving me again JSON here, right? On the left side, the right side, and I'm validating, okay, I'm getting only India or I'm getting other countries, and am I getting the right list of the university? So this is what you need to validate. Maybe the format, maybe the values, if the values are not getting populated or something, and so forth.
So this one gives you more universities in India or one specific, right?
Yeah, this is specific to the country parameter. So here, if I say Kenya, I can change the value as Kenya here, right? Value is the one that you are uploading. And I can run it. It gives me only Kenya ones. Country code Kenya and all those things, right? If I go here, it will give me the Kenya universities. The way you are supplying the values is a little bit different, right? It's a country and the value. Okay. Any question on this? This is the testing is different. Some basically they will have to provide you specification document and how to supply the values. Okay, but you need to, and they will get you the URL to test it out. Basically, what URL you should be, and this is how you should be sending the parameters as well.
You have the JSON format, nice, I'm getting that.
So just look at the raw.
No, just direct URL.
Well, you are, I'm not sure direct URL, I mean here, because it's depending on the browser. You are probably using Safari. I'm using the Chrome or Edge, basically. And you can, this is whatever the URL, I guess is. If I do it in Chrome, Chrome shows it, but again, it's a JSON.
Okay.
Okay, again, it's a JSON. So depending on the browser, it will show it differently.
Okay, so you are on Firefox?
No, I'm on Chrome. This one is on the Chrome, but in the Edge, it automatically formats it. That's all. Really. Okay. So here again, you look at it here. It shows you JSON format nicely in the tool, right? In the SOAPUI.
So it has the XML and JSON and other ones. So you just click on the JSON one.
Yeah, because it's a JSON, right? XML doesn't show you anything.
Yeah.
It says you cannot view XML.
Yeah.
Because it's not XML document.
Yeah.
It's a JSON document. Okay. If you see raw, yes, raw will be whatever you see in the browser,
Yeah.
something similar to that. HTML again is unsupported content type. It's a JSON. Okay. So everybody good? At least Now Postman, right? Let me just quickly talk about Postman tool because you can use either of these tools.
Okay.
Because a lot of companies, they ask you, hey, have you done Postman? But it's no brainer. If you use SOAPUI, you should be able to use Postman. Okay?
Is it on W3 schools too?
No, this one cannot be on W3 school.
Okay.
No, the Postman is a software that you have to download and install. Okay? But I'm just showing you how you can configure a new request. So just pay attention here because you're gonna miss it. And you won't be able to do it. So you open the tool, Postman. Okay, Postman app. All right, so let's see if it opens up for me. And it might ask you to log in again. Okay, or create account. If you have Google account, Gmail, then you can just use that to log in. That's what I have done.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to go and fill out details for creating the account. And it will say, do you want to block it or allow it? And I would say allow it, basically. So that it can communicate to the whatever site through Postman. All right. So here, most likely it will be empty for you. Okay. But here, if you want to create a new project, you will see the new, basically button, and you will click on it. And here, there are a bunch of options here. What we are dealing with is HTTP only because it's a web service project. So I'm going to select that. And it will ask me for this, it will pop up this window. And all you have to do is enter a URL. So here I'm going to paste this India. And as soon as I do that, it will populate the parameter here. So if you have this, if they just give you URL, you can actually type in country. Say it will change the URL here.
Okay.
Okay. If as soon as you type in value as India, it will also populate it in the URL. But sometimes you will have the whole thing, which will populate this values here. And all you have to do is click on send. And it will show you all the JSON requests right at the bottom. Nicely formatted. Okay. All right, does it make sense? It's a pretty straightforward for mainly used for web service, REST-based service testing. Now that doesn't mean you cannot do SOAP-based as well. You can do, but generally, if you want to do SOAP-based service, I would prefer other tools because it's more user-friendly.
Okay.
So it's the same purpose, right?
It's the same purpose, both can be used, but it's just a different configuration in both tools. Sometimes recruiters are stupid. Okay, because they don't understand. If you don't have one or another tool, they will think you don't know anything about those testing. So you probably want to put both things on the resume: SOAPman and SOAPUI and Postman. Okay, for web service testing. We'll talk about when it comes to resume part. But you as long as you have done some hands-on, you're good. You can talk about it. So what I would suggest is let's quickly go and use one of the services. You can do TV series information, right? So it will show you all the shows, basically, what are available on the for the Sopranos, related to Sopranos. Okay. So there is another service that's available. There is another service, it shows the flight information. Here, there are no parameters, so it will pull up all the flight information. Now, again, it's not a latest flight, okay? These are 2016 one. So it will return you the same flights every time you run. Okay, so I would suggest you use the one that I had shown earlier. Let's see which one was it. This India one, the universities one, for your testing in both SOAPUI and Postman. and test it out. So you need to create a REST-based project, right? REST project, supply the URL, and that's it.
So in the REST project, in the REST tests, right?
Uh-huh.
Do we have to put any data like in a SOAP? So SOAP base, we put like a number.
So what is your test data in the India, what universities? Your test data is the country,
Okay.
right? If you change the country, you're gonna get different values.
Okay, but here we didn't put any
We just
data,
have to
so we didn't change anything, we just read through, right? On these.
No, this is your test data. Okay, you can change the country to different country.
Okay,
Kenya, USA, if you put USA, you should get only USA list.
Usually will compare it with Google search.
No, they will have specification, right? List of universities, if they all are showing up or not. So you gotta go through and compare, you will need something to compare.
Google, no?
No, not Google, they will provide you what universities we have in our database, you need to make sure. Your test case would be, if I send India, am I getting all the Indian universities or not?
Yes, but the expected results we have to come up with.
No, expected result, they will say, these are the universities that's supposed to show up in the JSON. And these are the fields that's supposed to show up.
And that's what we'll write in it.
That's what you will compare with the actual list they give you. Yeah.
okay.
Now, if they have temperature conversion, you supply Celsius, temperature Fahrenheit equals 5, then you whatever you are expecting, you should get as a Celsius in a JSON form.
Okay.
If you have that web service available. But we don't have temperature conversion service for the REST API.
So we just have to read through these,
Scenarios doesn't change, right? You are sending in positive, negative, all different kind of scenarios.
And we can just give any website for that, like, Yahoo or.
No, these are the sites that are publicly available sites. Right? So, but in a real company, I mean, you will have specification document, they have set of services they will give you, and you are testing those services.
Will we be testing APIs too?
Yeah, you will always be testing APIs.
With SOAP and REST?
SOAP and Postman. SOAPUI and Postman. SOAP-based service, REST-based service, companies have both. Because they have built so many SOAP-based services, you know, over the years. So you will end up testing that. Yeah. We in the tool, okay, not in the browser, go in the tool. And create a project, REST project, and supply the URL for testing the India-based service. Whatever that list of universities by country service.
If you try to run the search on country on SOAP, it will throw you an error.
No, because it's a SOAP, right? So you cannot, it won't even let you configure the project sometimes. Because there is no wisdom. Because REST-based service, right? There is no wisdom for that. For SOAP-based service, you have to supply wisdom.
So how do you bring the email thing to the post?
REST, not the post, REST. Yeah, it's very straightforward. You have a URL, you just paste it, and that's it. There is nothing else there. There is no visual document, so. Let me just cover today what we discussed, right? So we covered JSON side of things.
Right.
Let's just pay attention here, everyone, okay? And you will have plenty of time to work through at home. So we covered the JSON side of things. What is JSON format? What is XML format, right? If you understand that and how to apply, or where does it apply for testing? Where does it apply for testing? Both JSON and XML. So JSON, which service, with what type of service we are applying JSON format? What protocol?
For API testing.
I know, but which type? There are two different types,
REST.
right? So this one JSON applies for REST. Okay. Well, where does it XML applies? What type of service? It's SOAP plus REST, both, right? Because JSON and XML, yeah. So JSON, you can have REST-based service built on that can communicate via JSON or XML. Okay, SOAP-based service only communicate via XML. That's the biggest difference. All right, and SOAP UI is a tool that you can test both services, SOAP and REST. Same thing, Postman is a tool where you can use it to test both SOAP-based service and a REST-based. Now, the reason I did not show you Postman for SOAP UI, SOAP-based service. See, the SOAP UI generates the all this request for you in a nicely XML format. In the Postman, you have to create that. You can test it. So I'll just show you example here quickly.
Postman is not clear like.
Yeah, so this is one, right? This is a temperature convert in a Postman. Okay, so you need to actually create the request. This XML, you need to build it and supply it when you are testing the SOAP-based service in Postman. It's not that user-friendly as SOAP UI. Okay, so you have to do more work on the XML side. Okay, so again, it's the same thing you are sending in, but you have to build this whole thing and then copy, paste it, or you just type it in the Postman. So it's more work for you. That's why you use the SOAP UI for SOAP-based service. Postman is a lot easier for REST-based service. I mean, both are easier, but Postman is widely popular because it gives you nice parameter-like format here. You can see it and change it, other things, and so forth. Okay, so that's the kind of like a SOAP UI is for SOAP. This one is for REST, right? Based service testing and those things. Okay, so that's all I wanted to cover for website API testing. Okay, this is all. So for homework, right? You need to document test case in DevOps, Azure DevOps, right?
One.
Yeah, at least one. Just do one. Should be good enough. Execute test case. So pick the service that we have not discussed in class. Okay.
I mean, that's like.
Yeah, well, you already have the service, right? Bunch of services. I already said you number conversion or text caching, those two one remaining. And for REST, you have flights and Sopranos, whatever. But just pick some service, document it, and execute test case and see if you are able to practice at all. That's the whole goal of the exercise, will practice. Okay. All right, so now we can switch gear back to different topic. I don't have any new topic to cover, but we can talk about XSQL a little bit further.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
And so you want to practice on the flow?
Yes.
You have rflow installed on your machine,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So we talked about at least some basic SQL commands. Right, you can run it, get familiar with the tool, and then you continue practice at home. Okay, so we can do that since we have time left here. So let's work through the SQL side of things. And at least you need to be able to open the tool, open the query window, write some basic select statements. Yeah, I'll get you laptop. Okay, so take a 5-minute break if you need to, and we'll resume at 12. I think we are like 8 or 9 minutes. I'll get you laptop. Okay.